Oh, that was something. Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here, or you've been here before but have not subscribed yet, please do so, along with hitting that thumbs up button for me and dropping your comments. Definitely want to hear your thoughts and feelings about anything Knicks. We're at the halfway point of the season officially for the Knicks. They played game 41 last night against the Detroit Pistons at MSG, and it didn't go well. By now, I'm sure most of you already know the score. You may even have watched highlights. You may even have been reading up on Twitter and Blue Sky, and there's a lot of issues going around with this game. We're going to talk about them. I got highlights for you, and I got my read on what I saw last night. Obviously, I wasn't happy with the result. I'm not as panicked, I think, as most people are right now. It seems like most people are right now. A lot of people are, throwing their hands up, and a lot of frustration over this team. But, you got to keep things in perspective here. It is literally middle of the season right now. Now, the second half of the season is incredibly important, obviously. This team is going to have to work out their issues communication-wise on the defensive end. They're going to have to figure out how to beat a zone. They're going to have to figure out whether they switch or not switch. They're going to have to figure out how to avoid Brunson getting hunted on switches. And they're going to have to figure out how they can get some consistent rim protection. All that said, these Knicks are still in third place in the East. And barring something catastrophic happening, I don't see that changing much. I think they will end up at least third if things continue as they were in the first half of the season, where they had some great highs, they had some low lows. Right now, we're in a low stretch right now. I believe the Knicks have lost 5 out of the last 7 games. I think I'm correct about that. So that is distressing. And especially in lieu of what happened last year in January with the Jan Knicks were outstanding. They went, was it 12-2 or 14-2 or something like that, something unbelievable that January they'd never had before like that. So it is a different year. It's a different team to some great extent. The coaches, well, the head coach is still the same, and I have a lot of issues with him. I have had throughout my whole time with him, but I do feel like he has definitely turned a corner from where he was 3 years ago. That said, it's time for him to turn another corner, and that's going to have to really involve the defensive scheme that he puts out there and his in-game adjustments. He seems to be a little bit behind on everything. It appears that way. And then when he does make an in-game adjustment, which is switching OG Anunoby onto Cade instead of Bridges, who Bridges was actually doing a good job in that first half against Cade. Cade struggled, and Cade went off in that second half. But in the first half, Cade only had 7 points. He was shooting 30%, 3 of 10 from the field, and that was mostly Mikal Bridges who was on him during that. But then when he caught fire in that third quarter, because he is a great player, this guy, he was the #1 draft pick for a reason. I predicted he would be an all-NBA type player, definitely an all-star. He's earned it. He's going to be an all-star this season. There's no doubt about that as far as I'm concerned. Let's go over here. We'll get the score up here. The Knicks lost 124-119. To continue about Cade and his size is tremendous. And when he goes downhill, he is almost nearly unstoppable. And I'm going to say this. There's been a lot of oh, well, we should have done this, should have done that. Let me tell you something. Knicks made Cade work for his points. He definitely got a few little looks here and there. But sometimes, once he got cooking, he was just shooting right in front of a guy's face. Guy from behind, a guy in front of him, draining threes. When great players catch fire, just like we've seen with Cat and with Brunson, they're just hard to stop. He caught fire at a moment where the Knicks were having a lull, so it ended up resulting in Detroit taking the lead going into the fourth quarter, and that is something that then the Knicks struggled to get over the hump. They had several opportunities, especially late. They even got the score down to just 1 point with about a minute to go after Mikal Bridges drained a 3. Mikal Bridges offensively was outstanding, especially in that second half. In the first half, didn't do much. He had 8 points, which is nice, 2 of 3 overall. He went to the free throw line 3 times, connected on those. But really, I mean, the story for Mikal Bridges was that second half. He had 19 points. Now, the problem, Cade had 29. So, we got bested. He got bested. The team got bested. But there were definitely things that could have been done to improve. Before we get to the highlights, I want to focus on something here that actually JD, my friend JD, tweeted out. Oh, actually, before we get to that, talk about this because they showed this during the game, and I wanted to highlight it. This was entering last night's game. These are the hustle leaders with NBA ranks this season. Loose balls recovered. Josh Hart has 38, number 1 in the NBA. Charges drawn, Brunson has 13. That's tied for third. He's been number 1 in seasons. I think last season he might have been number 1 or number 2, maybe ended up finishing number 2, but he's usually in the top. And deflections, OG Anunoby has 121 deflections. He's 7th in the NBA. Now, I wish that OG was number 3. In deflections, or number one. Well, Dyson Daniels is just outstanding right now. But let's say I wish OG was number 2 in deflections. OG's style of defending. He likes to come off ball. He likes to be a help defender, and he's great with man-to-man. But when he's asked to switch, he gets a little jammed up sometimes. He's not really sure when to switch and when not to switch. Now, is that stubbornness? I don't know. Josh Hart was talking after the OKC game and the previous game. He mentioned something about egos and agendas. Didn't mention anybody's names in particular. And there's been conjecture that he was actually referring to possibly OG Anunoby. Because if he's referring to Brunson, they're best friends. They have a show together. They can talk about that. I'm sure he's talked about it. I'm straight with my friends about stuff like that. So, and if it was Cat, it could have been Cat, but I just don't see it. Cat seems to be sacrificing tremendously for this team while he's out there. Could it be Mikal Bridges? I guess it could be, but he's his Villanova buddy. He could have just gone to him straight and not bring this out into the media. The other thing is, if he is referring to OG Anunoby, it doesn't seem like this is something Josh Hart would do if he was thinking of one individual specifically. So I think my feeling is, I think he's just talking about in general, agendas. Whoever, maybe somebody's worried about their sneaker line or some deal or whatever it is. Everyone's got things going in their personal lives that also correspond with their role as an NBA player as well. So I think he was just implying in general, we need to all get on the same page. All right. But let's say I'm wrong. Let's say it is OG that he is referring to. What could he possibly be referring to? Well, JD, he sent me this immediately when we were right at the game was happening. Sent me this information before he even tweeted this out. So this is the moment. I found it. This is the moment that he's referring to. And actually, this is, I believe, this is the second play. The first, there was 2 times where this exact thing happened. JD tweeted out, Jalen Brunson signaled to OG Anunoby. You can see his hand. You can see that little blur. See that little blur right between him and Hardaway? He was signaling, switch, with him to cover the pick with Cade. Because there was going to be, Timmy Hardaway was going to end up setting the pick on Cade, and that was going to force the switch, so then Cade ended up with Brunson defending him. Or they ended up double teaming him, and then Cade would just kick it out to Hardaway himself. Now, Hardaway was struggling in the game at this time, especially at this time. Hardaway was shooting 2 of 8 from the 3-point line. All right, 4 of 12 overall. He did have 10 points, but in 36 minutes, that's not that much for a shooting guard. So 2 of 8. He was struggling, 25%. So here, OG ignored him while looking at him right in his face. Josh Hart, again, upset. See how Josh Hart is looking? Why is Josh Hart looking there? Not at the top of the key, right? Or where the inbound pass is going to be. Why is he not looking where the inbound pass is going to be? So, or no, I think he was bringing it up at that point. So Josh Hart is looking. I think we know who the egos comment may be about. Now, that's JD's conjecture on there. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying he's right. I made my argument for why I think it's not specifically to him, but if it is, it's moments like this that reveal that. Also looking at coaching for late game blunders defensively. All right, now let's see this play. Let's see it. I have it here for you guys. Here we go. All right, you can see it right here. Watch here. He's pushing. Now you start switch. But no, he didn't switch. And now, now we're gonna see it all. I thought I kept the whole play. All right, switch. No, he won't switch. It's not playing all the way through. Let me come back to it. Sometimes these highlight videos don't quite cooperate. Here we go. So he's bringing up the ball. Towns has 5 personal fouls. It's 118-117. This is just after Bridges hit that three-pointer to cut the deficit to 1. Didn't get it all the way. I thought I had the whole thing. Well, that's a bummer. And this one ended up in a Malik Beasley three-pointer from the corner. And then this happened again on the last defensive possession in the game. You know what? Let's get to the highlights for that. We'll watch the highlights here as we go through, and I'll keep talking about it. But to me, okay, one time you screw up like that, but then the same exact play is being called by the Pistons on the second time, and you don't adjust? That is stubbornness to me. Now, that all around, I think stubbornness on OG's part, or maybe he was oblivious, maybe he was just tired, maybe he didn't hear the play being called out in the huddle. Who knows? But it is something disturbing, because one thing that this Knicks team lacks is an ability to get a stop when they need it. All right, of course I'd like them to be a great defensive team, but it's hard to be a great defensive team when Jalen Brunson is your point guard. He just has major weaknesses. And Cat is not a great defender. He's a decent defender. He's a good defender. He's not a negative defender. He's not a minus defender in any way, shape, or form. The problem is that he's asked to do a lot on both ends. And, right now he's number 2 in the NBA in rebounding. So he's doing what he needs to be doing, but he's not a rim protecting presence. He's not the block nest monster. He doesn't have that in his game. At times he gets a block here and there, and I've noticed that later in games he does challenge drivers a little more. He does challenge guys who approach the rim more. But as you saw, that he had 5 fouls. This game was looking like it was going to go be tied and go into overtime. Or what if they got to stop there and now they have a chance to score? He can't, foul himself out at that moment. So that was another issue right there. So the game got going. The Knicks allowed way too many points in that first quarter. They got crushed. They were a minus 11 already. They allowed 37 points to the Pistons in that first quarter, and they only scored 26. And I'll tell you, it was Towns who kept us around then. He had 9 points early. McCall didn't have any points at all in that first quarter. And Bridges, Brunson had 6 points there. The Knicks were 2 of 6 from the three-point line, but the Pistons were shooting 50% from the three-point line. 6 of 12. They were on fire, I got to say. And it was mostly Malik Beasley. He came in, his first 4 shot attempts from 3, nailed them. Boom. Oh, look, this is a nice play right here. This is the only three-pointer that Jalen Brunson made in the game, I believe. Yes, that was the only three-pointer. And he missed 3 key three-point attempts late in that fourth quarter. And Towns missed the key three-pointer as well. He did hit one in the fourth, but he missed a key one later on. And you heard, and they were both short. They were both hit the front end of the rim. You heard Clyde say, when shooters are hitting the front rim, that usually screams tired legs. The minutes. Don't want to harp so much on the minutes right now. I've been talking a lot about them. I put out specific videos about it and all. I believe, no doubt, the minutes load is an issue, especially for this team. I do believe that, playing a second game of a back-to-back is rough, especially, second game of a back-to-back. Look at these minutes that they played. 39 minutes for OG, 43 for Karl Anthony Towns, and he had a busted mitt. He sprained his right thumb. He's actually questionable for the Philadelphia game tomorrow night. He banged it on the backboard. I think it was like Isaiah Hart may have hit his hand, and he sprained it. He sprained it, and he played the rest of the game that way. I would have sat him, honestly. I would have just said, you know what? I don't want to risk anything, but he kept playing, and the Knicks almost pulled that game out. See the frustration there. Okay, so here's the third quarter. Look at that. That's just great shot making by Cunningham. Great body control by Cunningham. Now, this is a nice dunk by OG. I think that is, he had 2 buckets in that quarter. Knicks were able to make a little run here. Mikal, boom, buries another 3. He shot for the game. Mikal was 6 of 8 from the 3-point line. Here's another big one from the right corner. Now, there were times where Brunson looked off some guys in the corners to try and force it in the paint. And to me, that was a huge mistake, especially considering that you're playing against a team who has fresher legs than you. So I would have been like, you know what? Yeah, I'll try and break down the defense as much as I can, get into the paint. But if my guy is wide open, I saw Josh Hart was wide open twice in the right corner. And he's a good corner shooter, corner 3-point shooter. All right, here we go. Look at this. Look at that. He just split the defense. Look at that. That's outstanding. Outstanding move. I mean, yes, could your defense been better? If it's Mitch in the back waiting for him, could things be different? It could be, but the way he was able to snake through, that was beautiful. Now, could also be, are these guys, do they have some tired legs? Is it harder for them to just get in front of the defender? Yes. Oh, this was a big move right here. Holland, the rookie, delivers there. Okay, this play. So now it's 107-105. Sasser, rainbow 3, right over Brunson. Here he comes again. Boom, boom. Now we're really waiting to see those plays at the end. So now the Knicks are down 5 points, but here's Brunson. Okay. Boom. Nice. I think he did hit the end one. So now it's 112, 110. Look at this one here. Block, and then it goes in anyway. Mikal had blocked it, and then Cat blocks it again, and it ends up tumbling in. That was brutal. But then Brunson comes down and connects on that. Now it's 114, 112. Cunningham just blows past OG, but look at that. I mean, that was not an easy play. That was tough. And here we go, but we get the bucket right back. So now it's 116, 114, 2 something left. Here we go, minute and a half. We're down 4. Oh, so they didn't show that play in this highlight. Oh, that's the big. All right, so this is the play, the complete play that we couldn't see the end of it. Ends up, look, Timmy Hardaway drives, Malik Beasley from the corner, boom. This is a guy, Malik Beasley hit 2 3-pointers in that fourth quarter, and they went right down. But Hardaway had not. Here it is, the same exact play again. You missed it earlier. Brunson was trying to get OG to switch. OG still with Tobias in the corner. I don't give a shit about what Tobias in the corner. Malik Beasley has made the second most 3-pointers in the NBA all season. And here, short. Actually, I was just off, and that was the game. That was the game. This is stuff, I think, seeing the kind of players that this team has and the camaraderie that they have, I think they're going to get through this. And I'll say in the post-game interview of this game, Josh Hart was asked, I can't remember the exact question, but he said, well, we're going to address it in a private locker room meeting. He said something like that. So I think what we're talking about now is being discussed, or already was discussed last night. He probably came out and worked on it today. These are fantastic players. This is definitely one of the offensively, probably the best starting unit in the NBA. at the moment. I defensively just got to get it together. Has the minutes been an issue? I mean, look at this. Bondi. Now, Bondi comes out today. As of today, every Knicks starter is in the NBA's top 10 in total minutes played. Bridges, number 1. Josh Hart, number 2. OG, number 3. Number 6, Brunson. And Karl Anthony Towns, number 10. And he has the most minutes played of any center in the East. So it's going to catch up to you, man. And this is the middle of the season, the lull. They're like desperate to get to that All-Star break. I mean, number 6 and number 10 right there, Brunson and Towns aren't going to get a break during the All-Star game period because they're going to be in the All-Star game. So we'll see. But at least those top 3 guys will get a nice rest. Hopefully they'll go and get on a beach somewhere and drink some margaritas and just chill out. Just get their minds clear of this stuff because we need these guys to be as fresh as possible. Now, can the coach be helping them? Absolutely. Absolutely, the coach could be helping them. All right, let's see here the box score. Look, Bridges, 27 points. He was Brunson, 31 points. Towns, 26 points. 3 Knicks and 20 points or more, and we still lost. That's rough. OG Anunoby had another difficult evening from the field offensively. In his 39 minutes, he was only 5 of 9, 10 points for him. Missed both his 3-point attempts. There were a lot of look at Brunson, 1 for 7 from the 3-point line. And what else here? Campaign, 10 points. Those were all in the first half. Didn't really do much in the second half, but he gave it a nice spark in that first half. Deuce, 17 minutes for him. He only had 3 points. It was a nice 3-pointer. And Precious Achiuwa, 4 rebounds in his 10 minutes. I thought he was kind of a non-factor for most of the game. And for some unexplicable reason, Landry Shamet only played 4 minutes tonight. 4 minutes. That's crazy. That is craziness. But the Knicks shot 40.5% from the 3-point line, 50% overall, and about 26 assists. It's not as high as you want him to be, but that's not bad for 119 points. It should be higher. But look at the plus-minus. Bridges was a -3. OG a -8. Towns a -4. Brunson, even though he was the high man with 31 points, was a -12. And that is because of the switches. Pistons, smartly, they sought him out, and it worked. Josh Hart, he finished a +6 with his 12 points. He had a double-double, 12 points and 14 rebounds. And let's see. Oh, okay. Payne was a +5, and Deuce was a +4. So those guys, when Hart, Payne, and McBride were on the court together with Towns, and I think it was Bridges. It could have been actually. I think it was Bridges. It had a nice little run. They had a nice little chemistry there for a while, but it didn't last. Look at Precious, a -8, -8 in just 10 minutes of play. Precious. So he's having a negative impact on the team right now. He needs to shake out of this funk somehow, and the team needs to figure out a way to get him into a groove as well. But in terms of like hustling and getting rebounds and steals and stuff like that, I mean, he has it in him at times, but he definitely could do a lot more. And the Pistons, you can see 36 for Cunningham, 22 for Beasley. Every single Piston that came into the game scored. They went 10 deep. Look at the minutes for their bench. 15 for Fontecchio. 15 for Holland, a rookie. This is not the Pistons from the last few years. This team is a bona fide playoff team right now. They're a playoff contender. 21 and 19. And 2 of those wins were against the Knicks. So, I mean, Beasley, 7 of 13 overall, 6 of 8. The guy loves to shoot at MSG because he lit us up last time they were here. Isaiah Stewart played 28 minutes. That's what you want from a bench player. Someone who can give you 28 minutes. Where the Knicks, I mean, look at this. 10 minutes, 17 for Deuce. That was good. But 14 for Camp and only 4 for Landry Shamet. That is just ridiculous minute allocation right there. Oh, wait. Went the wrong way. They shot 44.1% from the 3-point line, and they shot 50% overall. Look over here. Let's go to this one here. let's go to, where is that here? Let's go to the game charts. All right, you can see. Look at the lead track. If you hear thumping, they're repairing the roof in my house here. So if you've been hearing hammering and thumping, that's what that's about. There were only five lead changes. The game was pretty tight. The biggest lead for the Pistons was 11. Biggest lead for the Knicks was 6. In the modern NBA, that's like almost nothing. That's like they're just at each other's throats the whole time. And you can see towards the end, it was very tight. It was under 5-point lead for most of the stretch there, the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. Then you look at the team comparisons here. One thing I want you to note here, and it's really crucial to see, this is, to me, was the actual difference in the game. Yes. Where did they blow the coverage there in those 2 3-point attempts? Absolutely. But the second chance points, Knicks usually dominate in second chance points. We were a -9 in a game that was lost by 5 points. Really, it was tighter than that. It was like 2 or 3 points. Really, -9 in second chance points is very painful right there. That's where the game was lost, down here. You can say 18 points, 18 second chance points for Detroit, only 9 for the Knicks. Fast break, pretty even, 15-16. I will talk about the transition defense because that's a big issue. Points in the paint, we were a -8 there as well. So -8 points in the paint, -9 second chance points. That means you have to shoot the lights out from the 3-point line, which the Knicks pretty much did, except they shot it better. Very difficult game. Very difficult game. The fact that it was the second game of a back-to-back definitely needs to be considered. Definitely should be considered. They look like they should have had enough to pull it off, but you can see the way the minutes are allocated, it wears these guys down over time. All right, let's get back to this. All right, the transition defense. So, one of the ways that Cade was able to catch fire in that third quarter was through fast break points. They constantly, and it came off of bad turnovers. You know, Cat trying to spin in the lane, gets the ball stripped from him. OG trying to get past Cade. Not Cat. Did I say Cade? Cade. Get past Cade on the right baseline. Cade swipes the ball out of him. Turnover. Brunson throws the ball. And that wasn't even the highlights. And I got overturned. So it was like 114-112, I believe was the score. They were coming up. There was plenty of time. And Brunson telegraphs he's going to make the pass. Thompson tips it, and Cat ends up tipping it. But at first, they called it Nick ball, and the coaches challenged it. JB Bickerstaff challenged it, and they got the ball back. And that was a huge, huge negative for us because then it turned around, and I believe then they came back and scored themselves. Actually, I think we got the stop. In that time. But even still, cost us minutes on the clock. So mistakes with turnovers could be tired legs, fatigue in general, not lack of energy. They showed energy last night. That's one thing. In terms of the other games before, there definitely was a situation of lack of energy. They didn't show that last night, but then those turnovers turn into fast break opportunities where it's like basically 3 Knicks defenders are behind Cade as he's racing up the court. And with his size and his speed and his handle, he's devastating to stop in the open court. And that's how he started getting cooking. And then he buried that 3-pointer from the left above the break. And then he just kept going and going. And most of it was being fed off of turnovers and the lack of transition defense by the Knicks. I will chalk that up partly to fatigue, but also partly to just a lack of understanding of how to approach the game in those periods of time when you are making a comeback and you're trying to take the lead. You don't want to turn the ball over so easily. You want to make the other team earn it. We basically gifted that to them, and that's why we lost that third quarter. That third quarter was devastating for us. The third quarter Yeah, we lost. We were a -9 in that third quarter. They had 36 points. We had 27. That was pretty much the game. Damn. But I'm not that worried. The Knicks did commit 17 turnovers, which is unusual for them. Not that worried, because I do feel like when you make mental mistakes like that, those can be correct. Those are fairly correctable. This team they're loaded with winners as well. So, but we are, I mean, by the byproduct that the bench doesn't get to play that much, it's hard to depend on the bench to give you huge contributions. You got to remember, they don't practice games. They don't have off days where they practice. They actually do a scrimmage. They don't scrimmage. So the bench players don't really get to play that much, especially against the first unit either, or even with the first unit. So to have that high expectation that, that's why Thibs doesn't play them, because when they come in, they cough up 10 points. Well, yeah, it's because they don't play at all. They need to develop some chemistry themselves. And you don't need to have 4 bench players with 1 starter out there. You can blend them a little more and rotate them around a little more and still be able to survive those minutes when Brunson and Towns are off the court. You just can't, cough up a 12-point lead. You can't let a 24-point lead get cut in half. But that kind of synergy and chemistry has to come from making the effort to find the bench players more minutes. Now, Deuce is back. He had missed 5 games. He's back. He's still not quite himself yet. At one time, he was covering Cade, and you got to remember, he covered Cade very well in college, just so you know. So at one point, Clyde was like, "I can't believe they put Deuce on Cade." Well, they have history, the two of them, and Deuce has had success against him. Got those long arms. He's able to get underneath them and disrupt him that way, and he has enough strength to handle it to some extent. But Cunningham was just brilliant last night. It was just fantastic last night, and Beasley as well. It happens. I'm bummed. I mean, I'm very bummed, especially when you think about. Let's go to this. So this is the standings right now. The Knicks are still in 5th, though. All right, they have the tied with the Rockets for the 4th most wins in the NBA. I mean, that's a pretty good place to be. Much better than we were last season at this time. Not much better. At least I think we're 3 games ahead of where we were last season. And then when you look at the advanced stats here, the net rating for the Knicks 6.2. They're tied with the Rockets for 5th in the entire NBA. It is including the poor recent stretch. Defensive rating, though, that's an issue. They're 15th. 112.5, that's 15th. That they have to get up into the top 10. But look, the Cavaliers they have a 10th rated defense themselves, 110.7. But their offensive rating is just outstanding, 121.9. But the New York Knicks are at 1.8. Actually, this is old. Let me refresh this. Sorry about that. Here we go. Okay, so the Knicks, here we go. Offensive rating, Knicks are still 3rd best in the league. You can see right there. Defensive rating, though, they're out of the top 10. They're 15. You know the formula. You need to be in the top 10 of those 2 categories to be a real bona fide contender. But the most important thing is the net rating, and the Knicks are 5th in the NBA in net rating. So, no need to panic. There's definitely no need to panic. Is there work to do? Definitely. A lot of work to do. You can say that about a lot of teams. You can say that about a lot of teams. Now, do we have to worry about any teams below us coming after us? Possibly. Teams like the Pacers have been coming on of late. Actually, let's look at the last 13 games. All right. So in the last 13 games, Knicks are still 3rd in offensive rating. And this is where they're really hurting. They're down to 21st in defensive rating. But when it comes down to net rating, they're still in the top 10 with a 4.6. One thing I wanted to show you here is not this. Actually, let me go to this. There we go. This is what I wanted to show you. Opponent stats. Here's the defense right here. This is the last 13 games. This is what's to be concerned about right now. Opponent field goal percentage. The Knicks right now are 27th in the NBA. That is terrible. This is why the team has been struggling of late. Look at that. They're 8-5 in the last 13 games, and they are allowing opponents to shoot 48.4% overall. This is not good. This is here where we're like the Sixers, who are struggling terribly, the Nets, who are just basically looking towards next year, the Pelicans as well. And then when you look at the opponent's three-point shooting, right here. All right, so OKC is number 1, Utah's number 2, and limiting three-point shooting. Knicks, second worst in the NBA, behind Toronto Raptors. So there's issues. Now, could this be the minutes? I think so. All right. Thank you so much for watching this. Again, my name is George. Sorry about the late posting of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button for me. Drop your comments. Definitely want to hear your thoughts and feelings. And share the video if you can. And let's hope that the Knicks recover. Tomorrow should be a win for the Knicks. It should be. But at this point, you can never tell. You can never tell. But I think Maxi's out. I think Embiid is out. So, you know, we should be able to pull that game out, hopefully. All right, I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.